My name is Roger Montti, and I've been doing this affiliate and marketing since about 1999. In 2002, I was invited to become a moderator at webmasterworld.com of their link building forum. Being on Webmaster World as a moderator, I had lots of opportunities to meet with folks at Google and Yahoo and like private things and also kind of hear things about the various algos that probably didn't make it out into the public. Some rumors, some true. So I'm going to share some of what I know. I've seen the algo grow up from the basic from before Google was around and from when Google came on, and I've seen a lot of things, and I think that knowing that some of these things will help you and your marketing keep out of trouble, but also knowing some of the pitfalls that are there will help you work within the system that's in there right now. And it's pretty complicated in a way, but you can work within it in order to promote your sites and get better rankings, but most importantly, sales. And what I always tell people is, when you do link building, you're not doing it for the links. You're doing it for sales. And that's what my focus is. So let's jump into it. Link graph. Have you all heard of the link graph? Web graph? Basically, what the search engines do is they crawl the internet and they take note of who links to what else. They slice it and dice it. They can turn it into like a hierarchical structure, kind of like a directory where it starts at one and then it goes down. They could slice it up as to pages, the page level. The page level's been around for a long time, where they see what the patterns are, the way people link from page to page. In the beginning, they used to assign what's called page rank per link. So if you could get a link from a site that had like a page rank of 7, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to be ranking really well. But sometime around 2003, I was at a search engine strategies conference, and I was watching Marissa Mayer speak. Do you know who Marissa Mayer is? Have you heard of her? She's currently the the CEO of Yahoo. But back then, I think she was like a product manager at Google, but she's also a computer scientist, and I think people underestimated her. But anyway, she was talking about robots, and she said that that they would devalue a link if the page it was on was not relevant. And up until then, it was like, hey, all I need is a link from a PR7, PR6, PR8, and I rank and I'm good to go. And that was the first time that anybody at Google had ever said that they were looking at the relevance of the page and then devaluing that. So it blew my mind. So I raised my hand and I asked her during the Q&A, I said, well, what if I design a website at UC Berkeley for the theater and dancer department, and I have a credit, that goes to my site because I designed it. You're telling me that I'm not relevant because I built the site? She scoffed, at me, laughed almost, and said, why should we give you PageRank for that link? Because it's not a vote for you. And that was the first time that the concept really got in, and I started talking about it with other people. And at first, people didn't believe it, but we started looking around. We noticed that like web design sites weren't ranking as well anymore. And ever since then, the link signal has been subject to purification, refinement in different ways. And it starts with content. That's why I believe they came out with the Panda algorithm first. Because what that does is studies content and it weeds out the spam. It identifies who's spamming and whose content is bogus. Because that purifies the link signal. And what the link graph does is that they do statistical analysis of the linking patterns. How many links are going out? How many links are going in per page? There's a certain percentage that indicates that it's a spam page. How many links does a site have? I saw this in a Microsoft study where they casually mentioned that they noticed that sites that have a linking pattern where it's predominantly inbound to the home page, spam. Because normally, sites have links random into the inner pages. It's only people who are link building and trying to manipulate the algo that have links to the home page. They ask, some people say, oh, you should get 25% links to the home page and 30% to your whatever page, and that's bogus apparently, because there's studies that say that sites that are trying to manipulate the algo point links to the homepage. So these are the kind of things that you should be aware of when you're building links. This thing. So this is an example of so also back in 2005, I was giving presentations, and the back seats were populated by people from Google's spam department. And I spoke to these guys and introduced myself to them, and they had degrees, advanced degrees in statistics, statistical analysis. And at the time, I didn't really fully appreciate what they were doing, but in hindsight, now I know they were listening to what we as marketers are doing in order to game the system, to get links and do better, and then incorporating that into their analysis. The thing is, it didn't get as powerful until, when did Penguin come out? Like 2012, end of 2012? Yeah, around that time. Yeah, and I think that came after they switched over to the Hummingbird foundation. But anyway, I don't think they had the capability to really put all this stuff in action. But now it really is in action, and they're catching people who are doing guest blogging and press releases and all kinds of things that they didn't have the ability to. There's something called block level analysis. It's basically like link graph, where they look at the relationships from page to page. Block level is when they look at sections of the page. So now the smallest unit isn't the page itself, it's the elements inside the page. I mean, that's pretty mind-blowing, as far as detail of like what you are up against when you're building links. And it's important to be aware of this when you're building links, so that, one, your time isn't wasted, your money is well spent, and your time and your effort is successful. So this is, I took this off of a Microsoft paper where they showed an example of outbound links on a page. And all those that are in blue are the ones that they call the outliers, that they have a pattern that didn't fit into what the normal, which is the red, and they just stand out. So, and there's all kinds of different analysis that they can do in order to catch people who are trying to manipulate the algo. So it's, in a way, it's kind of a new reality that we're dealing with. That if you want to do link building, you have to be a little more sophisticated and aware of these things that they're doing, and act accordingly. So these are examples of typical things they're looking at: number of inbound, outbound links, anchor text used for inbound link. That's one that's been heavily abused. I think Scott's going to talk about that. Are you going to talk about that? Okay, I won't cover that. Anchor text. Anchor text is when you specify your keyword in the link. That's the kind of thing they're using to catch people and put you in a penalty. Get a penguin penalty on it, and you lose your ranks. I was living in New Mexico for a while, and I went to a restaurant, and I asked for something with no cheese, and I was like, it was kind of funny because the waiter came back and he said, "Absolutely no cheese?" It's like, no cheese. Yes, means absolutely no cheese. And that's the same thing goes with link building. Basically, anytime that you can dictate the link, like if you're doing a guest blogging or guest article, and you can say, "Oh, and can I have my link, in the text of the article," which is a big no-no, or can I have my anchor text in the footer, which is, I think, a no-no too. And then if you make that a foundation of your link building, then you're really heading for trouble. So the best approach, I think, is to create a reason for a site to link to you, and then tell others about it. That's the outreach. And then to let the links come in. That's the ideal. And you can, think in terms of infographics, or you can do a study. Industry studies are really good. OkCupid is like, is the hallmark of like creating studies and then having people all of a sudden like thousands of links coming in because they do slice and dice their data. So whatever kind of studies or data you can do, that creates a reason for someone to link to you. And then those links come in, and then it spreads around the site. And it sets you up as an authority. But if it's a link opportunity where you have some say-so in the link, then it becomes a little sketchy. So be careful about that, because the capabilities at Google and Microsoft are really far ahead. I think Microsoft is even further ahead than Google. Google's, I think, catching up to Microsoft because they've been on what's called machine learning longer than Google, I believe. Okay. PageRank. These are metrics. I remember many years ago, I had a client that wanted links, and I explained my process where I don't use metrics like PageRank because I think that that's been a bogus metric for a long time. I won't. If you want me to go into it more, you can ask me in a Q&A about that. But I found personally success for my own sites. I'm an independent publisher. One of my sites won Business Week's magazine's Best of the Web Award. I get lots of good organic traffic, approaching 1 million unique visitors. I'm not like a really big publisher, but I do pretty well. And I built it all on the back of just mom and pop links. And all my rankings and some of my niches, I'm competing against like 800-pound gorillas like Viacom, they're like multi-billion-dollar companies. And so even way back in like 2003, 2002, I realized, I think around 2003, I was doing work for a software company, and I realized, focusing on PageRank is kind of a dead end. Focus on traffic. And what I did was create a profile of the people who I think are going to be buying it, and then just chase them down on the web on where they're hanging out, and then try to get links, whatever links, where there's getting listed on the resources page or doing a newsletter or whatever, get in front of them right there. And sometimes it's, not actual link, but it doesn't matter because I'm chasing traffic and that and sales, and that's what ultimately matters. The software company, the guy was really cheap. I think all his best people went to work for Salesforce and Google because he didn't pay enough. And but he said, "Well, I think I'm paying you too much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch you to a percentage of sales." And I was like, "Okay." So it's like I put it into super high gear, and then pretty soon he was owing me like 4 and 5 times more than what he was originally paying me, because the sales were just going up and up and up. So he switched me back, and I think that's when I quit. All right, third-party metrics. Third-party metrics. Now, PageRank and third-party metrics like the Quantcast or MozRank, whatever Majestic is calling their metric. Those are good, thumbnail kind of metrics at a glance, but don't rely on them. My personal opinion is that a lot of these metrics, third-party metrics, their focus is on looking at what quality sites have that rank well. A client of mine asked me, you got these links for me, but I did the MozRank thing on it, and it scores low. Can you explain why? And I said, sure. It's a good link. It was actually an industry association, like in Chicago or something like that. It was like a really high-quality link, but it scored really low on third-party metrics. Anybody who relies on that would overlook that link, but it was a good, high-quality link. And the reason is that site's not trying to rank for anything because it's an association. And quite frankly, that's the kind of links that Google likes. That's the kind of site that Google likes. Google likes sites that aren't trying to manipulate the algorithm, that aren't trying to hit any kind of metrics for ranking well, that aren't featuring keywords on the page or whatever. And that's exactly what that site was, and it scored low on the MozRank, third-party rank. And I'm not putting the MozRank thing down. I mean, there's a lot of good science behind it, but just don't rely on those to make those decisions. Take a look at the site yourself and see, do they have links in the footer to unrelated sites? Ooh, or are they selling links? Are there evidence? Are they accepting guest posts from sites that are doing lots of spammy guest posts? That could get you in trouble if you get a link from a site like that and become associated with a lot of sites like that. And that's something that a third-party metric like PageRank or whatever can't tell you. I have a philosophy about this that's called resistance is fertile. And what I mean by resistance is fertile is that these projects that take a little extra work are usually outside of the realm of the spammers, the spammer types, or the crowd, or the herd, whoever you want to call it. And they become prime opportunities because the barrier is so high. For example, I was working off a list of, a client asked that they wanted to be featured in regional magazines related to a specific niche. So I could go to Yahoo and find it, but everybody else does too. So what I did was I found a PDF that lists members organizations of journalists that subscribe to some kind of good ethics or something like that. And there's nothing anybody can crawl and click through and automate the process and get the who is and get the email out. And they were all prime good opportunities for them to publish and reach their demographic, because the resistance is really high, the barrier of entry. So a lot of and the thing about this is the research takes a little more time, but the payoff is higher, because I get like about 10% or higher positive response rate from these kind of projects, where the research is a little bit harder, but I also I don't have to send out as many outreach as well, because the response rate is so high. So that approach, the resistance is fertile, works. That's my preferred way of doing things, and I've been doing that for over a decade, and it just gives and gives and gives, and I've never been penalized. I've never been penalized. No penguin. I've never got, one of my clients was collateral damage to Florida, so I sent an email to somebody and that got fixed. But collateral damage is different. Conservative outreach. Think about ways to make your site worthy of a link. I think I discussed that. Build awareness. Build awareness, that's a good one. I like to position, I'll use one of my sites as an example. I have a site that's in a very popular niche. The barrier to entry is fairly low. And there was, an 800-pound gorilla in it. And what I did was I looked at my competitors, and I saw what their weaknesses were. In particular, they're like friendly to trolls, and there's like a kind of a negative experience for some people, with some people calling each other idiots and that kind of thing. So I decided to position myself as the friendly, civil place to go, and more relaxing, that kind of thing. So all my outreach was based on that, and all my branding was based on that, with the whole idea, and building awareness. I found that people automatically just started associating us with that, and just like all these positive, people I didn't know just all of a sudden started linking to me. It's like I don't even link build anymore for that site, because it's pretty much just all gone viral now at this point. But I built it on the back of building something, positioning it, a resource, and giving it a position, like why they should link to it. And for my situation, it was because we're a better experience. We're friendly. Zappos was that you can return things, and it's less hassle. Remember when Zappos first came out? My wife was all over it. She loved Zappos. It was the Zappos customer service experience. And it works, and you build that in, you bake that into your outreach and build that awareness, and pretty soon people take off with it. Seek authority. I love industry associations, organizations, magazines, and I don't care if it's online or offline. If you publish something offline, people talk about it. People go, oh, and if they see you enough at different places, they end up linking to it and tweeting and Facebooking about it, and the links build themselves. And this is an approach. And I like to do outreach and tell people about things and encourage them to link, but I also like to mix it up with cultivating links. And cultivating links is just creating the situation that kind of cascades afterwards not indirectly, that you kind of put it out there and then it all just starts to happen. And that's cultivating the link. I mean, you could create like a study or whatever and then put it out there. You know, that's one way to cultivate the link. You know, tell a few key people about it and then let that cascade. But I think that offline opportunities or opportunities that might have a no-follow attached to it, gosh, some sites have so much traffic. And some people, you know, some organizations are authorities and they have traffic and people listen to them and people take them seriously. Why would you turn down an opportunity to, you know, be quoted there or be interviewed there? And okay, they might not give you a link, but it puts your name in front of lots of people who might want to buy your product or visit your site, you know, or build awareness, and then have your product associated tightly with that. Have your business associated tightly with that product or niche. That's, I think, really cool. And I think because you're not getting a link out of it is not a good reason to do a project, because there is a cascading effect, a link cultivation effect in there by creating awareness, because then the links will happen on their own, which in this time, post-Penguin, is really important. So, you know, I'm not saying make that the foundation of your link building project, but add it to the mix. You know, there's these opportunities out there that your competition might not be taking advantage of. Take them, you know, add it to the mix. Don't just do one thing and hammer it, like the help a reporter out thing or something, you know. And are you going to talk about help a reporter out, or should I cover that? Okay. Help a reporter out can be very problematic if you don't go about it right. I'm not going to name a specific publisher, but like I noticed like a bunch of times, there are people who are using it who are doing kind of spammy things. And so just because a publication is top tier, don't automatically go, oh, I'm going to participate with this. Help a Reporter Out is a service where you subscribe and they send you emails. Haro sends you emails telling you about reporters who need to interview somebody for an article. So just because it's in a top tier magazine, whatever, don't assume that something that it's going to be good because it's a top tier publication. Google the name of the author and look at the past articles. Make sure they're not linking back from within the text to their own sites, and make sure they're not linking liberally to spammy sites, that kind of thing. Because even something as, you know, seemingly innocuous and safe as help a reporter out and publishing an article, getting a link from an otherwise prestigious publication can actually backfire on you. And there have been cases where people have been penalized for some of the help a reporter out things that they participated in. What do I do with the cookie? Oh, here it is. Ha. The no-link link building paradigm. So this is what I was just talking about. If it's offline, if it's no-followed, if the link is not a hyperlink, it's okay. It's okay. It's building awareness, creates trust, brand, and eventually links. There's this thing called implied citations. Have you heard of the implied citations? There's a little bit of controversy around it. There's some claims made about it that aren't in. Okay, Google came out with a patent, and in the patent they said that they were counting hyperlinks, but that there's also another type of citation that they call an implied citation, and that is a citation that doesn't have a link. And then somebody published an article saying that, oh, that means brand mentions, but that's not in the in the patent at all. And it's a little more complicated, but still it's an intriguing concept that Google might count the link, count the citation if it's not a link. And it kind of makes sense because one, Google's been doing it for, I don't know, 7, 8 years now for Google Local. Like if you're a plumber and you are listed on a directory with the name of your organization and your address and phone number, Google is crawling that information, non-link, non-hyperlink citation, and using that and folding it into the local algo. So Google does use an implied citation in the context of local. And Google search engine is founded on the concept of citations, that whoever has citations is authoritative. I'm not saying that implied citations like a link that isn't hyperlinked is going to count, but it could. So if you get it, if you're offered it, take it, you know? But I'm not saying to buy it. I think buying links is always, right now, is a really risky thing. And the reason, excuse me, the reason is because if they're selling it to you, they're selling it to other people. And, you know, who knows who else they're sleeping with? You know what I mean? Do you really want to get in bed with them? No, don't. Okay, so I'm going to outline an approach that I use. I like to start at the national level, then work down to state level. And by that I mean, like, let's say an industry association related to, I don't know, there's hospitality, there's industry associations related to hospitals, teachers, you know, whatever. There's always a national level, so just search for the national version, approach them, do a project, and it could be like a newsletter. And even if it doesn't result in a link, it could be like a magazine article. Even if it doesn't result in a link, it will open doors to the state level organizations, because then you can put that into your outreach to the state organizations and say, hi, can I be listed as a as a resource on your resource page for the state whatever. I was featured in the national chapter whatever of your organization, and then that opens doors. It makes you more legit. It shows that you're part of their tribe. And tribal affiliation is such a huge, huge thing. I could do a whole session about tribal affiliation in the outreach. So once you do the state level, then you go down to the regional and city and county level. And you can just roll with this for years, getting these links. You really can. And, you know, if your niche, if your audience overlaps, then you could go other organizations and just roll with that, you know, and just go on and on and on. I did something like this for a personal injury lawyer. And we wanted just to rank for cities not even all cities, just cities in a particular area of the state. And I guess because everybody else's links were so crappy and ours were so good, we started ranking for the 2-word phrases like motorcycle injury or something like that. And so I had to pull back because it was a little too successful. Now, I say start at the top and work your way down, but maybe some niches are different. You could try it the other way around, see how that works out for you. But I like starting at the top. help a reporter out. Have you ever worked the help a reporter out thing? No? There's some out there that are anonymous. They don't tell you what publication it is for. Don't do it. It's too risky. So you don't want to do an interview, then have it show up on some spammy site. Don't make it the cornerstone of your link building. Think of it as a supplement and restrict it only to the very, very top tier as much as you can. If you're going to do Haro, do it with the best publication you can that faces your audience. And the tighter the integration to your niche, the better. Or you can go wide for more like, branding kind of a general awareness. The general awareness, I like to think of like, the sales funnel where there's people who are like circling around it who don't kind of know you, but then once they know you, then they start dropping down closer to the center. So the general awareness, I like to think of it as an outreach to those who are likely to start circling around the sales funnel and to get them to know you so they can get on your funnel eventually. But I like to do the tighter integration where the publication is is specifically for your niche, because then that is closer to the sales result. And, do a search for the author and the name of the periodical and review the previously published articles, and only then do the project, because you really don't want to get stuck with a link on the same page as something really bad, really spammy. And it's out there. It's out there. Cultivate evangelists. I love cultivating evangelists. I love consultants. Consultants are people who sometimes are facing the people who buy your product. Cultivating them as evangelists is a good thing. That means like maybe publishing an article of one of their articles on your site. It's establishing a relationship with them. It could be a blogger with a lot of influence. You can publish one of their articles on your site. And this is something I call reverse content marketing. Content marketing is when you place an article on somebody and you hope to get a link back on somebody else's blog. Reverse content marketing is when you get somebody who's influential to publish an article on your blog, and then they go all over the place from their site saying, hey, I just published an article on such and such blog, and then they link to your blog. That's reverse content marketing. Then they go on to Twitter and everywhere else and tell other people, and pretty soon you got other bloggers and stuff linking to the article published on your site. I think that's a win-win. I think that's really cool. So this is the thing I outlined before. Profile the site visitors, build mindshare, generate inquiries, conversions. That's really the goal of link building. And that's the way link building should be approached. Don't let anybody, if you hire somebody to do your link building, don't let how many links you get per month be the end goal. I think sales should be the real metric. Are your sales going up? Oh, gosh. Industry conference networking. I like to do industry conferences relative to the niches I'm in, but I like to talk to people and hand out my business card, and especially with experts, people who know and have sites. And I research before I go to see who the vendors are, who the experts are, who the speakers are, and I make a point to go talk to them. And then I set up projects. Invest in a quality business card. That'll help you establish credibility. There you go.
name's Scott Polk, and I'll go ahead and go pretty quick on mine since we've got about 15 minutes left. First off, how many people here in the room have active link building campaigns on their websites? You don't count. Anybody else? Nobody else is building links for your website? You guys like to rank? There you go. Okay. How many people here actually have affiliate tracking software that they utilize to track their sales for their websites? Okay. Anybody here been hit by like any of the Google updates? Their sites? Any unnatural link notifications or anything like that? If you haven't, well then you probably haven't been doing it very aggressively anyway. Okay, I'm going to go pretty quick, so bear with me. Pretty much, I would say the cornerstone of any link building is going to be your link building audit. And this is something, if you're not doing it consistently all the time, especially on a site that you own, you're probably not doing enough what you need to be doing. There are multiple reasons for this. First one, of course, is kind of preemptive. You want to make sure that you're aware of what's going on with your site before it actually comes back and bites you in the ass. Second one, of course, is Penguin, devaluing of links that kind of comes across the board by Google themselves. Unnatural link notifications. If you have one of these, you have to do a link audit. That's just all there is to it. And then simple algorithm updates get you as well. Penguin just was kind of a simple devaluing of links across the board from lower quality sites. So Google went out, identified links and said, you know what, these aren't really relevant to you, so on and so forth. They're not relevant across the board. So start devaluing links. Once you've identified those, you kind of get rid of them. The unnatural link notification, if you've got one, you're probably pretty familiar with what this looks like. This right there is a warning shot across your bow. Google is being very kind and notifying you that you need to fix crap. Your data collection. Sources that I use, these are kind of, and there are other ones out there, so use whatever you like, but these are the ones I actually prefer. Google Webmaster Tools, make sure you download all of that data. They're going to give you as much as they can. I personally prefer link research tools, Ahrefs, Majestic, and then any internal link acquisition reports that you have. So if you work with agencies or have internal teams, whether they're in your office, in China, in India, wherever they are, make sure you have every single link report that they've ever actually done. You're going to need all of that data eventually. Does that not work anymore? Seriously? Okay. Computer's locked up. There we go. Okay, some data points that you can actually look for that I always kind of look for when we're doing link audits. Make sure you look at the unique domain count for links that are coming into your site. Are all your links coming from a single domain? Are they all coming from the single IP address? Are they all coming from things that are easily recognizable as patterns? And if they are, that's something you want to be keeping an eye on. Links from penalized domains. If it's a PR0, right there's a red flag to go back and make sure that that domain is actually in the index. It's not being penalized. If they're linking to you from a penalized domain, then that's going to be on my cutting block next time around. Look for links with exact match anchor text. You want to make sure that as you're looking for these, you don't have too many coming across for credit cards. If you're a credit card site, that's great, but exact match anchor text is going to get you into trouble, especially when it's overused. Site-wide footer links, sidebars, links from that area, links from non-relevant content, links from article directories, and also traditional directories. Unfortunately, a lot of traditional directories out there now are passing zero equity, if not negative equity to you. IP block we covered. Look for links that are hidden in the HTML as you're doing your audits. A lot of sites get hacked. SQL injections through WordPress or other PHP scripts that are out there that actually inject literally hundreds upon hundreds of links per page to sites that are linking to you that aren't visible in the actual site itself. Comment spam, follows and no follows, make sure you look for all those. And then, of course, kind of the 3 to 4 big ones that we actually look at besides PR, MozRank, Alexa, and then domain authority itself. Okay, so the main things that we look for when we do link audits are make sure the relevancy. How relevant is that website to your website? Is there a particular reason that they're going to want to actually link to you? And if it's not, then you kind of categorize it that way. Does a link look natural? And I'll go into that in a bit later. And then location, as Roger mentioned before, is block level segmentation. Where is that link actually located on the page that's linking to you? If it's in the footer, if it's in the sidebar, it's going to definitely have lower value in most cases. If it's within the content, that's great. Is it using anchor text, so on and so forth? Okay, so these are some examples of bad links. This is a guest post, a bio link that has gone a little crazy. 4 exact match anchor text links going into the website for a guest post. This is a red flag. Stuff like this will get you into trouble. First one on top is Mr. Credit Card, and I'm not trying to call anybody out here, but I just wanted to use this as an example, that a lot of times your brand is actually your anchor text or your exact match or what you're trying to rank for. If so, then use the entire one. In this case, it didn't. Great article, great publication, until you come down to this and you see an exact match anchor text for a geolocated target in here. If they actually really wanted to link this and make this a good link, then I would have used the name of the shop instead of trying to go through a fashion boutique in Newport Beach, California. Content spam. What makes this bad? Well, other than the fact that it's linking to an automotive site. Talking about singing. And the same thing when you go through, you'll see more. Overuse of exact match anchor text all the way through. This happened to be on a site that had absolutely nothing to do with anything because it was a music site. So when you find articles like this in a site that's completely not relevant, these links are going to not help you, or they're going to end up hurting you. Scraper sites, a lot of them design themselves to look like sites, and not very well, of course, in this case, but and then point links to other people. And the same thing coming around here. You're looking at more scraping sites that are using this, scraping content, and then publishing links elsewhere. Sites that are not indexed. When you actually go out and you look at a link, if the site's not in Google's index, to me that's a big red flag, and you want to definitely investigate that further. Hidden within the HTML. Couldn't find any right off the bat, so I stole this image from Chuck. But this is basically injected again. Div tags that are positioned off page, so you can't actually see them, but have links to anybody and everybody out there. What to look for in a good link? Relevancy. And when I mean relevancy, I actually do mean relevancy. If it's not relevant to your website, then more than likely this is not going to be a good link for you. I mean, there are a lot of other attributes you have to actually go through, but this is probably going to be one of the main ones. Is it a natural looking link? You know, does it appear naturally? Using exact match anchor text for credit cards is not something that naturally happens out there. People link to you with your brand name, with a URL, with click here, in an image. They do things that they would just normally do if they weren't ever thought about it, if you've never actually thought about SEO ever. Okay. And then data action products. You're going to want to definitely go ahead and do link removal requests for all the links you've identified that are out there that are no good. No follow. Sometimes the strategy you're going to want to take when you do requests is to have them no followed, either removed or no followed. And once you're actually done with all that, you take what's left, people haven't responded or haven't replied, or you can't get in touch with them, and you can disavow those. Affiliate links. This is one that we deal with quite a bit as well, as a lot of the affiliate tracking software out there, which claims to be quote-unquote SEO friendly, is harming you. The reason for that is they're taking links, passing 301 redirects, or 302s, or whatever the case might be, from one site to another site through your software, supposedly to pass SEO equity over to you. You do not have any control then of who's actually linking to you or from where. This is not a good sign at all. We've dealt with a couple sites just recently where we've had to completely have them change the software they were using for the simple fact that we were able to determine that this is what was causing the rankings to no longer be there. Once they did this and implemented something completely different, simple removal of the 301, so no equity passes whatsoever, rankings can come right back up. The technology that we utilize out there that everybody kind of lags or grabs onto to assist and to make things better for everybody else, or to sell you saying, well, this helps you for this and helps you for that, can actually harm you quite a bit. Example of the link removal request, you grab all your data, you kind of bring it in. We go through a 3-phase contact. So we make sure we contact everybody out there at least 3 times before we put it as uncontactable. Does this require labor and effort? Yes, it does. All of this does, and that's kind of the problem. If you're looking for an automated solution, you kind of have to ask yourself, how did you get into the problem to begin with? If your link profile is bad and you were using automated software, or the vendor that you're using was using automated software, that could be more of the reason than not. Some of the, the automated software link removal requests that I've gotten. Yes, I am the owner of Google+, so plus.google.com, apparently. Make sure you check the data. I mean, there's nothing wrong with automation. I love automation. I love using tools to help me cut down on the manual labor. But this company is trying to get me to remove links because I'm the owner of Google+ for profiles that I had absolutely zero control over or had any knowledge of. Make sure you check that data. Once you're done, you can disavow. You just create that file. Google's got samples that you can actually download and just monitor. It's pretty easy to do. Just throw it in there. You just say either by the URL level or by the domain level, and head out for it. And a couple things with just affiliate links. Again, do not try to get equity from your affiliate links for SEO. It is considered a paid link. Google does not like it, and either they're going to disvalue it if they find it when they decide to, or in cases that we've come across, it can actually harm you. There's a couple case studies out there right now that have showed where really aggressive affiliate marketing has actually caused serious damage to SEO, and they had to take some really drastic steps to do that. One rule you can always go with is make sure just part of your affiliate program is rel not followed. It helps. With Google's kind of quote-unquote war on affiliate marketers, you really have to start taking proactive steps on this. One of the examples that we do is create custom 404 pages that are effectively affiliate pages, track your offers, throw your affiliate tracking codes into these custom 404 pages, just make sure they pass a 404 error code, and then you're pretty much set. What's next? Once you clean it up, start acquisition. And you can do this through a lot of different through methods. Organic outreach, which Roger covered a bit, interviews, thought leadership, in-depth articles, content marketing, so on and so forth. And just don't fall for this stuff. People send you emails trying to get you to buy links from them, especially when you can find it on their Google Plus profile. Stay away from it. And just because we're out of time, I'll cut it off there. And if you guys have any questions, let me know.
Okay, so we have a little short amount of a few minutes for Q&A. Does anybody have a question? Yes, sir.
So, if I want to work with, I'm a merchant, so if I want to go for unbranded terms that I want to go up, that I'm not ranking for, right? And I want to do this strategy with bloggers. If I understand correctly, the best way then it would be for them to, if I have a blog, that they could write on my blog, and then they will share that in their own to their crowd, so they can link back. That's a method that I call reverse content marketing. So make sure when you link out to them that the link to them doesn't have any anchor text, like their keyword anchor text, because you don't want to get into any trouble for manipulative links. So and then just link with the name of their blog, and no links within the article itself back to their blog, just like a footer or at the top of the page, their name of the blog, their author bio, and if you can get away with it, make it no follow, just to really make it fail-safe proof, that you won't get any penalties. And this works especially well with bloggers who like to tell other people about posts that they made or articles that they wrote. And especially if they're active, like they have an active newsletter, Facebook profile, and Twitter accounts and stuff, then other people will start linking to it. And even forums, people who follow them, if they're an expert, they'll start linking to the article, say, hey, look, so-and-so published an article over at this blog. And then the links just grow naturally from that.
As much as you need to concentrate on SEO, don't start out with that as the first priority. Make sure that that's part of it as you go on. But create your content strategy first.
Yes, sir.
Say I need to check a bunch of different
In Google, there's definitely tools out there. I can't think of the like advanced rank checker or something of that nature. There's online tools where you just dump in a spreadsheet of domains and it'll pull up all the metrics for you. I think advanced rank checker. I think, yeah.
And yeah, as Scott mentioned, as far as the reverse content marketing, don't make that the bedrock of your link building. Be really choosy about who you invite, and don't do it all the time as a regular thing. It's part of the mix. And in all the link building strategies work well when they're all parts, but no one part is the main strategy, I think. Anybody else?
So you guys understand link building completely. Awesome. Come talk to me because I need to learn some stuff then.
Yes, sir.
Any strategy for ranking videos, or does it apply the same strategies as ranking a blog or a website?
Like ranking a video on YouTube?
Google videos.
YouTube is a search engine for videos. It's its own thing. So, you could. The thing about, you can. I don't know. That's not. The ranking of videos isn't really something that that I work on. What do you?
Ranking videos in SEO. If you're trying to rank on YouTube, YouTube has its own set of rules. If you want to rank them in Google's universal, you need to make sure they're embedded on a page, and you make sure you SEO the living hell out of that page. It's going to rank just the way it's going to rank for a particular reason. It's SEO is SEO, and they're going to be, if you're talking about local, it's got a different set of rules. If you're talking about video, it's got a different set of rules. But they all still kind of fall back to the main stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of like outside of the link building kind of thing. Anybody have any issues with the link building that you want to bring up or mention or ask about? Like something you got stuck on?
Curious, what's your take on like these badges where you say like the blogger of the week or something like that, and then people can have the badge on their site linking back to yours? Is that a good strategy or a bad strategy?
Yeah, widgets and stuff like that,
Yeah.
probably stay away from.
Can you explain why?
Because it's pretty much, if you're trying to actually gain link equity from that, it's probably going to backfire and bite you.
Yeah.
Because it is manipulation of the algorithm. It is violation of Google Webmaster Guidelines. Can it work? Sure, all spam can work. That's why it exists. But the problem is it's not a long-term solution for you.
If you do no follow, would that help in any way or doesn't matter?
No follow would probably help you, but not necessarily from link building, a pure link SEO kind of perspective. But yeah, I'd still do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you
Don't
put a
look at
no-follow
SEO
on
as the
that.
whole thing.
Yeah, if you put a no-follow on that and you're doing it for the traffic and it converts or turns into links later on, somebody else talks about it and links to your site, then that's cool. Yeah. But if it's a pure link, then that creates like a closed circle almost. And also it's like, when bloggers get together and form these groups, that's kind of like a scary situation. It might go on for years, but eventually it can catch up and then something happen negative.
Yeah, if you want to churn and burn, this isn't the right session for you. No, I know. I just want to say it. Because look, spam works. I'm not going to try and tell you that it doesn't, because you see it in the algorithm and in the index all the time, and people can make a lot of money doing it. Absolutely, but it is not a long-term solution especially for a brand by any means. It will always come back and bite someone in the ass. Always, guaranteed.
Yes, sir.
What you guys think of social signals, right?
Love them.
Rand has done a lot of studies recently where it does affect if somebody's logged in, they can go plus. Somebody else they know has plus one on the page, it actually affects their search rankings. I'm wondering what
Well,
I personally would look way
Matt-
beyond that.
yeah, I think Matt
they
Cutts has come out and.
my question is, how
But-
much you guys have seen that affecting search rankings?
I look at it from kind of a secondary effect. I think it affects considerably because of the the effect that it has with other things. You know, I personally think that social signals themselves are going to be another form of popularity. It's going to be part of the algorithm. If it's not now, eventually it will be.
Yeah.
So there's no sense in not working on those now. Why play catch up later? If you know that the algorithm is going to go in a certain direction, start building for it now. Eventually, when it does go there, and it will, in my opinion, you're just going to be that much further ahead of the game. But the secondary type of effects that comes with all of those things, that's what you really want to get the benefit out of now. You know,
Yeah.
if somebody shares it, you have a higher chance of getting linked to from somewhere else.
But something like Facebook likes, I'm pretty sure Matt Cutts specifically said that that isn't part of the algo and that isn't affecting it. There are some things about sites that rank they have in common, but just because they have that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what made them rank. There's just things that are typical to sites that tend to rank well.
Yeah, kind of the correlation versus causation.
Mm-hmm.
There's,
Yeah.
You can relate things pretty easily, but does it actually have direct cause yet? I think it will.
There's no better. Okay. Well, we're going.
We're done. We're getting.
Okay. Thanks for coming.